Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's get straight to it. We're talking about the Mourinho press conference ahead of Roma Empoli. But first things first, did you see that route by Inter Milan in the Derby della Madonnina over Milan? Fratesi at the end. Beautiful ball, beautiful game by Mkhitaryan. Lautaro Martinez, of course, simply the better team. Milan just looks like totally off their game. And Inter, meanwhile, I think are the strongest team in Serie A. And they really showed up today. They played a great game. On top of that, the world knows now, again, that Dusan Vlahovic is a great center forward. Scored two awesome goals today. Chiesa gets on the score sheet again. Juventus look really good. I think they're going to really benefit from a little bit more rest without European competition. But yeah, guys, let's get straight to it. So the press conference it was juicy. There was a lot in it. He was going back at the questions from the reporters. And the first question is, Empoli haven't started a good season, he's asked. He says, what type of teams do you expect to face? He says, more important than the start is how they end up. They're not panicking because they're in a bad position in the standings. That's not who they're going to be. That's not their potential. And he expects that they're going to come out with ambition and have that like peacefulness around them. That it's not a word that directly translates into English, but like a serenity surrounding them where they know that they don't have to win every single match, so they can play a bit more free. He says, we've won every match against them in the last 2 years, but they're an organized team that will play in a different way. They have the same coach. And the 2 days that we worked with the whole team, we did it with respect for them. So Mourinho knows this is not going to be easy. There's no easy match in Serie A. He says they're good, but we have ambition to win our first match of this season. Then asked with the new additions, what has changed in the way you see things? How is Smalling doing? He says, you're always negative. Fortunately, we're more positive. Smalling is a fundamental player for us. He has a maturity that before we start talking to him about mistakes, he already knows how to analyze himself. He's like saying, which is good, because you don't want to just be like, hey, you did this. Like Smalling's like, no, I understand, coach. I know what happened. He said it's easy to communicate with a player like him. Tomorrow, I don't think he'll be available. Let's see in today's training. And we're going to be talking towards the end of this episode, the shorter episode, of course, about the starting formation. He said maybe he gets in late to make it onto the bench and help us if needed. There is the possibility of not making it at all. Obviously, it's one thing to talk to you before the market closes, but it's another to do it afterwards. He says Roma signed 2 strikers. It was difficult to have 2 players like Romelu and Azmoun. He's saying that because now he has to choose. And he says if all are available, trained, and have time to work together, our team profile changes. That's absolutely true, right? You don't remember, but we played the first 2 games with Belotti and El Shaarawy without solutions on the bench. The third with 15 minutes for Romelu. Now we have to improve. We have good strikers, not just Lukaku and Azmoun, who arrived in a difficult condition, meaning like their fitness, and who is coming off a long injury. He has worked well these 2 weeks. He says when Paulo is there, we have fear. Like I think he's saying like almost like they're nervous. They're a little bit nervous when he's playing due to injuries, but we're also hopeful because he's a fantastic player who can give us a hand. Without forgetting Belotti and El Shaarawy, who played at their limits of exhaustion. Belotti also played well with cramps to help the team. We are positive we need training to improve as a team, but I am happy with who I have at my disposal. You like this goal thing. Mine is to win tomorrow. After the game, if you talk to me, the goal will be to win the next one. I win to win every match. This is a response because even as fans on social media, we ask things like, what should Roma's goals be? How should they end up? And he's like, it's not about that. It's about winning the match ahead of you, which is refreshing, and it's good. It's the right way to think about it. It's the right way to think about the season. He's then asked, Roma played a lot of matches in the first 2 years that you were coach here. 20 players suffer a bit of stress due to the effort, due to always playing this game. And he says, we played 2 European finals. In the first, we played 17 games. He says, I don't know. In the second season with the playoff with Salzburg, we reached 15 or 17 games. It's not a crime, but this thing here was important. He's saying how this affected fitness, endurance, fatigue, injuries, the whole package, right? It says, first of all, for the joy of the city. Secondly, for the self-esteem of the players in the group. We did well. If we had just gotten to the 30th round and we were third in the standings, perhaps at the 29th or 31st, we were third. Then we played Feyenoord, Leverkusen, and qualified for the final. We had injuries of Dybala and Smalling. Matic couldn't play every single game. We reached the end with difficulty. From a quantity point of view, this group here is few. We have 20 field players plus those from the Primavera team who will never be a problem. Saying like, I can always use them, but they don't cause an issue. As I'm happy to help them and they become important to us. The quantity is not very high, but the quality is high. When we are all in real shape, that is different from being available to play. To stay at the top, you need to have continuity of training, minutes, and matches. When we get to this moment, and I believe we will, we are a team. When we have problems, we have to remain calm. We have to be patient and wait for the kids' evolution. So this is one thing that Mourinho hasn't really come up against too many times in his career, right? Integrating young players, not just one or two, but over the time, there's been at least 5 young players, 6, 7, who have come on, started games from Mourinho at this point, and we see that it's benefited one or two of them greatly, such as Bove. He says, besides Smalling, how are the others? How much autonomy do Lukaku and Dybala have? He says the two players who are out at the moment are Pellegrini without a doubt, and Smalling, in my opinion, is out, but sometimes something positive happens at the last minute that can make him available for the bench. He says, I thank Spalletti because he has coached clubs for many years and has the understanding that a player cannot continue. He did it with Mancini and Pellegrini, and I think also with players from other clubs. I like this sensitivity, and it is positive for us club managers. He's saying what happened there was Spalletti sent Cristante home, sent Pellegrini home, said, no, these guys, I'm not going to run them ragged. They need fitness, and I'm not going to, hurt them to the point where when they go back to their clubs, it creates this friction between country and club, because you don't want that either. So I like this cordiality and respect that Spalletti has showed, and also that Mourinho appreciates it. He says, Mancini will make it. We stayed here with a group of 9 players, of which 7 were injured. My staff and I are different. He did say, he uses this word stupid, but I think he means it in a way like different, or just that they're not doing it like other coaches, saying that like they go on holiday for 10 days, but we stayed to train 2 players, Belotti and Osmoon. Like they're putting it in. They're putting the work in, guys. He says, we're like this and we'll die with this professionalism. It was us with the 2 goalkeepers and the Primavera kids. The other 7 only worked with the team yesterday. They're available to play because there are many of them, and because we need them. We have to manage the season intelligently. We have to take some risks, but they will all be called up. Someone has to start from the first minute. When Lukaku arrived ahead of Milan, he wasn't in excellent condition. He hadn't trained with Chelsea, but he was careful with his body. With Milan, he played more than 20 minutes and arrived in an acceptable condition. Renato and Paredes finished worse than him. Azmoun even worse. He was injured. Romelu arrived with the national team in excellent shape and will start. He also scored a really nice goal. He says it's no surprise if he were to play 90 minutes, the others need to be managed. He is the one who is in the best condition. Dybala. He plays. The data confirms that it won't be easy for him to play 90 minutes. It won't be easy from the point of view of intensity and effort. From a clinical point of view, he feels good and wants to play. He is confident and starts with Lukaku. Do you talk to Totti about Roma, and would you hire him as a manager? There's been a lot of mentioning of Totti perhaps coming back in a dirigente type of leadership role with Boniek. Boniek was really good center attacking mid for Roma some time ago. He says, I'm the coach. I'm nobody to talk to or talk about a legend of Roma in the sense that I can't say what I want. I talk to him about these little things. How are you? How are you doing? Just simple cordialities. He says, this is my relationship with Francesco with respect for the ownership. My social life in Rome is practically non-existent, but from the few contacts I have, Totti is in Rome. He has never left here, and he never will. All the fans show me their affection for him. For me, Francesco is here. Mourinho didn't ask. Mourinho, nothing. So he's just kind of making the point like there is a difference. He's not saying like, oh, yeah, I'm in secret talks, or I definitely want him or don't want him. He's kind of saying like it's none of my business, and who am I to speak about the King of Rome? He gets it. Okay, towards the back end here. After the final against Sevilla, you said that you were tired of doing everything. He mentioned like speaking after that game. He was tired of always having to address the press. And after Milan, you didn't show up to the press conference. Has this situation been resolved? And he said, I have decided that I am not in total control of this situation. I'm not perfect. And what I think I'll do is one thing, and what I will do is another. My goal is to have 0 match suspensions, both on the field and in conferences. If I don't go to the pressers, it's my decision, but never to be nervous. For someone like me who has 1,100 games, being nervous is too big a word. If there's one thing I can change, it's my honesty and my inability to not speak the truth. When I decided not to go to the conference, that was the intention. It's a challenge for myself. I will try not to have problems. Do you have any regrets about how you prepared for the match against Milan? So I think something important. The formula for success is not to hear from people who are less capable than yourself. I think this is important. Listening to those who know more than you, hearing from those who can help you think, or people who don't know more than you, but are with you day after day, like the staff. But with someone who has never sat on a real bench, someone who has never spent many hours in situations like this, someone who has never prepared matches of this level, I don't feel like talking about these things. He's telling the reporter to shut up. And if you look at my comments here, is Michael? Someone even quoted that. It's so funny. That's a good one. I gotta love a lot of appreciation too, which is really cool for that. And I'm gonna tag Ray about that. This is a recording. I know some people asked. This will always going to be on YouTube. Mourinho post and pre-match press conferences will be every as soon as they're posted, as soon as I can get them up, before every match and after every match. So if you're a Mourinhoista or a Romanista, you can be sure that that's coming in. Guys, we'll talk soon. We'll see how this game goes. We'll see who steps in for Smalling. Will it be Indica? I think so. Let's talk after the match. See you then.